Movies. We all love them, but some movies are made with a very clear intent to have a sequel or two to follow up after to tell the full story. And when it wraps up, it can be a great thing. Think of Lord of the Rings. They told one of the best trilogies in film history. But then think of a TV show where they have the perfect amount of seasons and tell a great story like Avatar: The Last Airbender, that I consider to be one of the best TV shows out there because it told a great story and it ended at the right time. But sometimes studios get a bright idea in their head to make a new sequel after the franchise or show has already had a set in stone conclusion. I want to take a look at movies and TV shows that I think ruin their ending or just run on too long, and the well-known big offenders of this. Oh, Bay. I'm not done with the Bay former movies yet. I don't think I'm alone with the idea that Bay's movies should have ended with Dark of the Moon, because the movie ended on as good of a conclusion you could get with these. Sam was very much implied to marry Carly at the end. Sentinel and Megatron are dead from war crimes, and Optimus gave us an optimistic monologue, with Linkin Park playing us out. Great ending, but then Bay had to bay and try to make a follow-up to Dark of the Moon by reinventing the franchise and making it darker and more mature, which birthed Age of Extinction. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't say this or didn't get across in my Transformers ranking that I kinda like this movie. I know it's a jumbled mess, but I have a soft spot for this movie. It's one of my earliest theater-going experiences. I remember I liked Lockdown as a villain more than Megatron at the time because of his musical theme and the fact he had a cool design and gimmick about being neutral and not conforming to any sides. Ooh, you're really shaking things up there, Bay. But this movie is still a mess that took off the nice bow Dark of the Moon left us with. It just wasn't as badly done as some others I've seen. Then enters Last Night. I made no secret about hating this movie. Even when I saw this in theaters as an 11-year-old, I hated this movie and could notice the glaring issues. The editing was so bad. Plot points didn't work and were thrown all over the place, and the good majority of them were never resolved. The tone is so inconsistent, it's like they filmed 3 separate movies of varying tone and just smushed them all together. The whole movie has 2 different aspect ratios because they were shot with IMAX cameras and the normal film cameras you would use. So almost every shot you either get hit with these black bars or an actual full screen shot. But to add the icing on the cake, this movie was supposed to birth 3 sequels, along with a spin-off, which leaves me thinking, why? But now we have rumors circulating that Bay is wanting to make a sequel to Last Night with Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox. But like, wasn't it clear that Sam was dead? That was written into the script and made clear that there was only one last surviving Witwicken. But you know, with as much as I think Last Night is one of the worst big budget movies ever made, I can't say that if this did go into production, I wouldn't pay money to witness how good or bad, most likely bad, this would end up being on the first day. Kung Fu Panda is one of my favorite trilogies, along with it being one of DreamWorks' best series, besides Madagascar of course. But I feel the reason why is because of the characters, with the main standout for me being Po, and I'd argue he is one of the most fleshed out and well-rounded characters of any DreamWorks franchise, besides Hiccup. Po has a great arc, with the first 3 movies, where in the first, he comes to peace with his present self, the second, he does his best to come to peace with his past trauma, and the third, he masters his past, present, and future. It's a very well done and fleshed out arc, on top of the first 2 movies being great, and the third not being quite on par with the first 2, but still very good. along with these 3 movies having some really top-notch villains. Then DreamWorks decided to fuck it up and release another one that did none of the things I just listed. When I tell you that this was the most nothing movie I watched last year, I mean it. Like, even if a movie is subpar from DreamWorks, you can at least rely on a so bad they're funny to decent to great villain. And considering the Kung Fu Panda movie track record when it comes to villains, this one was by far the worst out of them. Her whole plan is to take revenge on the Kung Fu masters for not teaching her because she was too small. So let me get this straight. Your big revenge plan is because you were considered too small in a world where a mantis, a viper, a red panda, and a fucking chicken are shown to be masters of Kung Fu. That makes no sense. And the one thing that I thought would be cool is the fact that she has the ability to shapeshift into masters she steals techniques from. But they don't really take advantage of her powers all that much besides the climax that's kinda boring. The only enjoyment I got was seeing Poe's dads actually like each other and seeing the Furious Five at the end, even if they didn't speak. But it was not worth ruining the already good ending 3 left us on. I know most people consider the whole CW Arrowverse bad, and they're not wrong. The reason for that being is because the Arrowverse started off with a bang with the first show in question, Arrow. Arrow was genuinely one of my favorite shows, and season 1 being one of my favorite seasons of television because hell, it had me hooked from the beginning to the end of the season. Season 2 and 3 were also really good, not as strong as season 1, but still good. But after those seasons is when the quality kinda took a nosedive for me. I still like season 4, but it was definitely a noticeable dip in quality from the first 3 seasons. I had hope they could pick it back up with season 5, but it didn't, and that was when I dropped off from the show. Only when writing the script did I find out there were 3 more seasons, and I don't know anything about these last 3 seasons. But honestly, this series really should have just ended at season 4 or 5. Moving on from series and franchises that I think went on too long or just ruined their ending, let's move on to the ones that a lot of people think are big offenders of this. I have never seen any of The Walking Dead, but I remember during the show's peak, everyone could not shut up about how good it was. But apparently this show dropped off in quality in its last few seasons, which is fair enough since the show has run from 2010 to 2022. How? How do you make a show about zombies run for 12 fucking years? What, is the cast just gonna end up being 90 running and killing the undead? Glee is another show I haven't seen besides watching music YouTubers compare the Glee covers to the originals. Honestly, I don't know how you can do 6 seasons of 20-year-olds pretending to be high schoolers doing covers of pop songs. I really think you could have just ended this after 2 seasons and been fine. Most people think this show should have ended by season 3, so I'll just take their word for it. I've seen The Simpsons and I debated about including it, considering a lot of sitcoms are big offenders of running way past their prime. But I mean, this show has been running from 1989 to the present day. How? How have they made over 30 years of episodes? Oh dear God, Indiana Jones. So the original trilogy is great, and I'm not alone with the idea that this should have ended with The Last Crusade. They literally ran off into the sunset. I don't think you can get a much better ending than that. But they made 2 unneeded sequels. One that introduced aliens, and the last one introducing time travel. This jumped the shark not once, but twice somehow. Oh, Terminator. Terminator is a franchise that somehow had a great first movie. The second one is leagues better than the original, and the third is okay. But years later, they made some of the most forgettable sequels I've ever seen. Honest to God, who remembers Terminator Salvation, besides Christian Bale losing his mind on set? Majority of people do feel they should have just ended with the third, even if it wasn't as good as the previous two. The series is also like the Bay former movies, where the story continuity is all over the damn place. I think those are all the franchises and series I wanted to talk about. I'm very aware there are so many more you could list, but as always, I hope you've enjoyed. Take care and peace.